sporting, he bought all the newspapers.
Madeira, 1,000 kilometres from mainland Europe, has a rich cultural heritage. Claimed Madeira, 1,000 kilometres from mainland Europe, has a rich cultural heritage. Claimed for Portugal in the 15th century, it has served as an important trading post and produced world-famous wine and flowers. Currently, its brightest star is Cristiano Ronaldo, who lived on the island until his transfer to Lisbon's side Sporting at the age of 12. His godfather, Fernão Sousa, still lives on Madeira and remembers the young Cristiano's passion for football.
At Christmas, I always gave him a present. One year I ordered a toy car, but he kicked up a fuss because he wanted a ball. The next year I bought a ball. It was a cheap brand that cost about €5. I asked myself why buy a ball, and his father used to carry a sack of balls on his shoulder, but he wanted his own ball. His father was so proud. After he went to Sporting, he bought all the newspapers and magazines to read about his son. It seems like yesterday we were watching him play at Andorinha. It's still very fresh in our minds.
Andorinha was Ronaldo's first football club. They will never win the Champions League, but they can point to developing the player that was transferred for $130 million in 2009. The club has always promoted youth, and former President Rui Santos will never forget young Cristiano.
He had abilities that other players didn't, but nobody could know that he would so quickly become the player he is today. You have to remember, at that time the club didn't have its own pitch. We always had to play on pitches that were loaned to us or in sports centres. When we sold him to Nacional, they gave us 2 sets of kits and 20 balls as a payment because we didn't have a notion of his worth at the time.
Nacional were to further develop the young Cristiano, but he was clearly destined for much greater football theatres than Estadio da Madeira. He left his homeland in 1997 to sign for Sporting, and in turn to Manchester United and now Real Madrid. His former coach recalls how the desire to win has always burned deep within the superstar.
Foram várias pessoas. Nós tratamos no Nacional.
He wasn't easy to handle. You see what he's like today. Well, as a youngster, he was even more difficult to handle because he didn't like losing games. He sometimes got into arguments with teammates. He had a very high standard, and sometimes he couldn't accept it when a teammate made a mistake. He's the biggest sporting reference we have. His image is very much linked to our region. Cristiano Ronaldo never forgets about Madeira. We're very proud of him.
And his legend lives on in the form of a dedicated shop and museum in the capital, Funchal. He's kept it in the family too. His sister Elma runs the boutique that brings in more money to the man who, according to Forbes, earned $44 million in 2013. Another Champions League win for him and Real, and the pride felt in Madeira for their most famous export will be elevated further. Giles Goford, BBC News.